people desire good leadership.
Yes.
They'll follow good leaders. They want to work in a good culture. And I've had employees stand up in a town hall and call me every name in the book and tell me how horrible the company is, and that's the reason why they showed up. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to meet with me personally, like afterwards? And if not, here's my cell phone number. Call me anytime. Or if you want to go to lunch, I'll take you to lunch. You don't know what you don't know.
Your culture means nothing if you don't have a strong communication plan tied to it. I mean, you will end up with a culture, whether you like it or not.
Mental health, the brain is part of the body too. And it needs help too. And so one of the first things I had to do is go on camera in front of all 650 employees and get really real about my own mental health. I'm not designed to know everything about everybody, because so many leaders think, if I show you my underbelly, if I show you where I'm weak at, then you won't follow me. And the reality is it's the opposite.
Are you optimistic about where Oklahoma is going in long-term care?
No.
No.
If I'm just being honest, no.
All right, welcome to Our Purpose Podcast, a podcast where stories from skilled nursing and long-term care come to life. I'm your co-host, Kip Kruger, a voice shaped by industry experience and a belief that everyone's story has a purpose and it's worth telling. Today we have an exciting episode today. We got a CEO from Oklahoma. But first.
Thunder up, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
Already turned off half the audience.
I was going to say, let's go Mavs.
Well, there you go, right?
Or let's go Rockets, right? First and foremost, CEO, Principal Health Systems, Mr. James Dieter. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kip. Let's go.
Our Purpose Podcast. We are going to go. This is going to be a good one. Our Purpose Podcast. We got the CEO, Mr. Brad Underwood from Voyage LTC in Oklahoma. What's up? Welcome to Texas, baby.
Thank you for having me. It's I'm originally from Texas, so I love coming back home. Being in Houston's more like Texas's basement, but
Sure.
Easy, bro.
Thank you for the scratchy voice here I have and the sniffles I get. So climate's a little different, but thank you again for having me. Really.
Yeah, man, we're excited. I know we had dinner last night, and that was pretty fun. I don't normally get to have dinner with a guest before, so we talked about LTC, long-term care, how it compares from Oklahoma and Texas. Yeah. Let's jump in. Tell the listeners, tell the audience, the new audience from Oklahoma, what's up? Because we're going to have a lot of them on this podcast. Tell them who Brad Underwood is and how Voyage LTC got started.
Oh, wow. I love it when people ask me that question. They go, so when did you know you wanted to be in long-term care? And I'm like, never. Like whoever goes to their high school counselor and says, when I grow up, I want to be an administrator at a nursing home. It's like no one says that. So for me, it was accidental. If I'm being honest, it was, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started, I always say this, and I think it's kind of goofy to say, but I've been working professionally for over 30 years. I've had 4 W-2s in my life. So what that means is every day you got to wake up, kill it, and drag it back to the cave, or you don't eat that day. Yeah. And the reality is there's been a lot of days I didn't eat. So that's just the way it is, right? But back in 2018, had a partner and I were operating in Texas, and we decided to come to Oklahoma. And there was a distressed property there that we were possibly going to purchase, and we were kind of doing, the whole due diligence thing, the whole song and dance, the dating period, the honeymoon period. You're walking around, and kicking the tires and, looking in the back rooms and all those kind of fun things.
You got administrators looking at you funny, like, who is this guy?
Oh, yeah, because that's what they always do. Like, who is that guy and what's he going to do? Kind of thing. And so we're just doing the whole dance. And that was in July of 2018. And long story short, it just wasn't a good fit for us. And so we came back to Texas, and it wasn't until October 30th when the owner reached out and said, hey, I just need you here. Yeah. And, what do we got to do to get you here, kind of thing. And she and I spoke that night about as long as our dinner last night. It was about 4 hours, talking about all the specifics and how it would work. And long story short, we made the deal, and she said, when can you be here? And I said, I'll be there in the morning. And she's like, really? It's like 10 o'clock. And I go, I'll pack. I'll be there by 7. And I said, I'm only going to stay 90 days. I said, I'll be here for 90 days, turn some things around for you. This was basically her inheritance and her retirement. She was a former school teacher, and her father owned long-term care facilities, and this was the one he gave to her.
Interesting.
And it was in bad shape.
Yeah.
I won't say it was the worst business I've ever seen in my life, but it was definitely the worst nursing home I've ever seen in my life. It was rough, and it had a reputation in the state of Oklahoma. It was, I remember we did our first annual survey. I think it was in April of 2019. And they wrote us something like 37 deficiency tags, 2 harms. And then they just stopped. And I'm thinking, normally in survey, I'm like, hey, aren't we going to get to the business office? Aren't we going to get to human resources? Aren't we going? No, we're done. These were all nursing tags. And they're like, listen, we could be here another 3 weeks. And I'm like, got it. And they go, you just got to get this thing cleaned up and turn around. And they left. And so it took us about 60 days to clear those tags and deficiencies, and that was 2 revisits to try to get it done. Like I said, the place just had a reputation.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, we had COVID strike. And so, of course, they weren't in any of our buildings for a couple of years. And so the next time they came in and did survey, I believe that would have been 2022. And they were going back about almost 36 months. We got 1 deficiency that year.
Good for you.
One deficiency. And it was something, everyone that watches the podcast is going to know what it was. Infection control.
Exactly right. We're just talking about it.
880, yeah.
Yeah, I think we had one issue with some gloves in an improper place or whatever.
Yep.
But the surveyors, there were 6 of them, and doing the exit, and they just looked and they said,
like high-fiving you on the way out.
Basically, it was probably one of the most positive survey experiences I've ever had in my life. I mean, they were like, we're astonished. Like, we have dug and looked, and we've gone back almost 3 years here. We can't believe the massive turnaround this place.
When you guys went, and you obviously started out really rough, and then you moved it all the way to where you only had the 1 issue. Was it turnover? Did you have to turn over a lot of people and change, or was it processes, or both? I mean, what really was it? What did you have to go through to get from where you were to where you are now?
It was hard. I mean, it was really difficult. At the time, I was still living in Texas, and so I was kind of coming back and forth. And what I was doing is I stayed 226 days in a Hampton Inn in Oklahoma City that year. I would come up and I would stay 4 days, and I would go home for 3 days, and I would come up for 3 days, and I'd go home for 4 days, balancing, family, a wife. My kids were in high school, and, Dad, the game's on Friday. I'm like, I promise. And I had to be realistic with my kids. I was like, listen, I'm not going to miss anything major. I will be there. This is hugely important. This is what I do. Yeah. But I will be there for your big events. And I kept that promise to them. I only missed one of my son's high school football games because I got COVID and was quarantined for 10 days at a hotel. But he got to play, so that was awesome. But yeah, it was a lot of everything, to be honest with you. When we walked in, there were no processes or procedures really in place. But the big thing, which I think it always comes down to, is the culture was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was terrible. They would hire anyone with a pulse. There was no accountability. And the reality is no one really wanted to be there either.
Yeah.
Everyone had written them off as a worst home in Oklahoma. No one wants to work there. So I guess they'll take me. And they would show up. And just going in, because my reaction is, let's fire everyone today. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sure,
it's like, you did all this. There's a reason why this is like it is, and it's your fault. Let's just turn. But there again, who's gonna work 3 to 11? Who's gonna work overnight tonight? You know what I mean? So you can't do that.
So as an administrator, I had a couple of those buildings. I took over one in San Antonio. It was pretty rough. Had a pretty bad reputation. But to me, in my experience, those people who needed it the most would rally around you the hardest. Did you experience that as well too?
What's funny is if I go back and look at that home today, there's probably a good 10, 15 people that were there when I took it over. And those are some of my people that are just sticky. Those are the kinds of people, hey, I need you to start doing it this way. Hey, they are just quick to rally. Yeah. But yet when you went into the building, it would have been like you would have seen them with everyone else and went, oh, you're just part of the problem crew here. And they're not. The reality is people desire good leadership. Yes. They'll follow good leaders. They want to work in a good culture. I say all the time, people deserve to work for good companies. Yeah. And it surprises me how many bad ones there are out there, to be honest.
How did you know if they were salvageable or not?
Because you get to know them. Yeah. And that's something there again that we called it the fishbowl because it was some double doors with all glass. And then behind that led to the administrator's office. And so that's where leadership was. And, and it just, the first thing I do when I take over any building is I don't change anything for 30 days. I just watch and I talk. And I'll just, I'll see someone passing meds and I'll go, mind if I help walk with you? And they're like, of course, it's always like, no, don't come near me. You know what I mean? But it's like, come on, let's just talk. And I'm like, what do you like about this place? Really? Okay, that's interesting. What do you not like? What do you think I should change? If you were me, what would you change? Is there something I could do to help you? What can I do to serve you better? How can I make your job easier? And people will tell you.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's like, did you ever ask them how to make the place better? It's like, no, we were management. We just did this. And it's like, that's not going to work.
We just talked about that on an earlier podcast. He was talking about like processes and changes and doing things different from the C-suite all the way down. And he basically said, you have to encourage the people at the bottom. And
That's right.
you have to gain their insight. You have to gain their trust. You have to know what they want. And you can have all these processes, but if you don't include them in the decision-making process, it may not work.
There's no buy-in from them.
Exactly.
And what I did that year, probably I'd been there about 90 days. I went up to the local Golden Corral and I stood at the door and I said, everyone that comes in and says they're with this particular nursing home, I'm paying for them. Just let them come in and get a plate. And we had their back room and I fed them. And then after they ate, I just said, listen, there's no leadership here but me. Your DON's not here, your ADON's not here, your MDS coordinator's not here, your administrator's not here. It's just me. I just need you to be as honest with me as you can and tell me everything that's broken. And if there's things I can fix, I want to fix it. And I'm not going to tell them you told me. So in fact, if I don't know your name, don't tell me your name. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to know who you are. And what we found was we got about 6 months down the road and we did it again. And every October, we do a town hall meeting in our organization. And I do it for 3 days. I do it on multiple shifts so different people can come. And it's me and my 2 other CO officers. And we sit there and we just listen. You can tell me how terrible I am. That's okay. You can tell me how wonderful this company is. And that's okay too. But I need your feedback. You can ask any question you want. There's nothing off limits for us. So ask anything you want. Tell us anything you want.
Why do you do that? That's so off the wall, but it seems so
common sense.
Common sense. Yeah. Why do you do it?
Well, it's only one of about 4 mechanisms that we have for employee engagement and feedback. But that's one of them. It's really important to me because we learn so much.
I like that you cut out middle management.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They can get a little offended and butthurt by that.
I was thinking about...
Can I say butthurt on the podcast?
Yeah. We say it all.
We say a little bit worse there occasionally.
So you call them first and kind of explain to them, listen, I'm just trying to get to the root cause here, so I need you to understand that I was just thinking, we do a very similar exercise. However, we do have management in the room. Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, what would they say? They don't hold back much. So I'm like, man, if you took out management, they'd really not hold back.
Because I think it gets back to vulnerability and transparency.
Yeah.
Whenever you can have a culture that says, look, I know I'm not perfect. And if someone calls me out on my mistakes, that's not a dig at me personally. That's just an area that I get to improve upon. And so when we look at our directors and managers and I go, hey, it's town hall meeting day. And they all go, oh, okay, you're doing that. For the first few years, there was a lot of like, oh, they're going to say a lot of bad things about me and I'm going to get fired. And it's like, no, that's not the purpose of this at all. And I've had employees stand up in a town hall and call me every name in the book and tell me how horrible the company is. And that's the reason why they showed up. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah. Do you want to meet with me personally, like afterwards? And if not, here's my cell phone number. Call me anytime. Or if you want to go to lunch, I'll take you to lunch. And you can tell me about all the ways I failed you. I would love to hear that. And because to me, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And they will tell me things a lot of times that they won't tell their DON or they won't tell their administrator or they won't tell our COO even. And so they've got my ear, and there's so many things we've implemented from that. Simple things. Just little simple things like, I'm trying to think of an example. One of the things that we did that was a big thing was during COVID was an infection control thing where we did fanny packs, like fanny pouches. Yeah. Because we were like, okay, Brad, when I'm in the room and I got my gloves on, I got to take my glove off, but they got to go in. And I just need like a third hand. And so we had a little CNA that goes, why can't we wear fanny packs? Wouldn't that still be sterile if we, and I'm going, I'm not clinical, so don't ask me that, but I can find out. But that ended up being something we did during the COVID protocol.
I love that.
That's so cool.
I love those simple innovations.
Yeah.
Simple little thing. And it was from a CNA. And we learned that through a town hall.
Yep.
Is vulnerability a strength?
So for us, we say a lot of times, you're only going to be as strong as your weakest vulnerability.
Yeah.
You have to have that ability for leaders to go, hey, look, that's not my area. That's something I'm messing up on. That's something I'm not strong on. I wouldn't, and I tell this to all of my leaders, my directors, managers, and see people all the time. I'm like, listen, I would never ask you to follow me if I can't say one of 3 things. I don't know, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. We do that. My team has heard me say that so many times. I do not know. They'll go, yeah, but on the QSO memo, and they're rattling us something off, and they look at me and they go, well, you're the CEO, don't you know? And I'm like, no, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I can find out. And that doesn't lessen my leadership role, and it doesn't take away from me as an individual. It's just a matter of fact of, look, I'm not designed to know everything about everybody, because so many leaders think, if I show you my underbelly, if I show you where I'm weak at, then you won't follow me. Mm-hmm. And the reality is it's the opposite. When I can go to that little CNA, and I had to do this a couple of weeks ago, I went into a building, and I'll be honest, I was hot. I came in way too hot, which is something I try not to do. Yeah. But I walked right past the front door where she was, taking some things, and I just walked right past her. And I went in, I did the business I had to do, and it just dawned on me that I was probably not the way I should be when I walked in that building. And I walked up to her, and I said, hey, can I see you for a moment? And her face just turns white. Remember when they know Brad's on a tear, something bad has happened, And I was a little hot coming in, and I admit it. And I pulled her into the conference room. I said, hey, listen, I just want to apologize to you. That was so wrong of me. I should have never snipped at you like I did when I walked in. And I said, will you forgive me? I mean, that's not the kind of culture we have, and I'm human, and I make mistakes, and I'm just sorry I did that to you. And the little girl, she gets tears. She goes, no, don't apologize. I didn't even. And I go, yeah, you did. You and I made eye contact, and I walked right past you, didn't speak to you. In fact, I just kind of was murmuring something as I walked past. And she goes, well, yeah. She goes, I just thought you were in a bad mood. And I go, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
You can't treat people like that. And I said, you're so valuable. I said, quote, tell me for a while, I think you've been with us like 3 years. And she goes, yeah. She knew exactly. Like 3 years and 2 months. And I'm like, I appreciate the work you do every day, because I couldn't do it. And what you do, you're a hero. And I said, I couldn't do what you do, and I'm so sorry I treated you that way. You don't deserve that. And you have to do that. You know what I mean?
I think that sets the tone for the entire culture. That sets the tone for the entire atmosphere there. And I think you have to set a good tone and have a good culture around you. Or, you're setting yourself up for failure, right?
All day long. To me, everything rises and falls on leadership and culture. And it's not something that I say so. Every home has a culture.
Yeah.
Whether you're intentional about it or not. Every business is going to have a culture, whether you're intentional about it or not. Every family has a culture, whether you're intentional about it or not. And so for us, and really what I spend 80% of my time doing as a CEO of a long-term care company is culture.
Yep.
And that's what I do. I'm looking for ways constantly how to lean into our people. How do I make their lives better? How do I make us the employer of choice? Yeah. Because I've said, and I'll tell them straight to their face when people want to interview with us or on a podcast, whatever it is, I'll say, listen, we don't pay the most here. We just don't. We don't pay the least either. We're going to be fair about what our compensation is. Sure. But we're not out chasing everybody else over one dime for this or shift div for that or bonus for that. That was a big thing during COVID, attendance bonuses. Yeah. You come on time, you get a bonus.
We had a COVID bonus too.
Yeah, COVID bonuses, right? Now, we did some of that kind of stuff because it was pretty serious then. But yeah, we're not chasing every quarter that someone's going to pay you additional. And I've had people come to me all the time and go, so-and-so offer me more money. I go, if that's what you're looking for, you should take it. Good. Improve yourself, improve your family, and go do it. And we're not mad when someone leaves us over that. It's okay. Yep. It's okay.
You talk about intentionality and setting culture and be intentional with culture. I've seen James Dieter do it specifically, but James kind of get in on this one. Why is setting the culture intentional, and why are some of the things, the conversations that you have on a daily basis, intentional about culture?
Yeah, Brad nailed it. So you have a culture even if you don't try, and then you're going to end up with whatever you end up with. So if you're not intentional about setting that, it's really important. And, I think I've probably told this story before on here, but we went out and we had this amazing company culture, so we started in 2016. I think it was 2019, 2018. We sent out a survey. We're like, we want to see what everybody thinks, and we know everybody loves the company, but we want to know how they love it and all that. And we get it back and it was like, top 50 people in the company, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. The bottom 150 people in the company was 6, 5s, 4s. And we're like, whoa, I can't believe so many people don't absolutely love the. So we started getting really intentional about it. Where are we at? And we started doing town halls. We put in all these different forms of communication because we wanted to hear from everybody. We got very intentional about designing our core values, our mission. What are we here for? Why are we doing it? And then we started to preach that, and we've never stopped. I spend about 50%. I keep a time list. Where should I be spending my time? It doesn't always work out, but where should 50% of my year, I try to intend to improve communication and culture inside the company. That's
I
what
love
I'm trying to
it.
do.
And communication is the huge part about it. It's like, we can have it. It's great.
Yeah.
There's a communication plan. I look at culture. Culture means nothing if you don't have a strong communication plan tied to it. So it has to be an actionable enforcing. So that's why. I mean, you will end up with a culture, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about core values and the reason that you do things the way you do. Talk to me about Voyage. How is it different? What are your core values? What is your mission statement? Like, what do you live by on a daily basis?
So for us, it's always about core values. We even do little things like most owners, I'm sure. Like, I always keep a little bit of cash in my pocket always when I go into nursing homes.
How much you got right now? Can I have some?
I actually left my bag in the room, but yeah, I can, because there's always going to be things like that. And so what I'll do a lot of times, I'll walk in and I'll go, look, I've got $100 for the first person that can give me all of our 5 core values.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's all of a sudden they're trying, and I'm going to have 2 or 3. That's why you can't just have one. You know what I mean? I got to pass it out all the way around because, yeah, you got it. I would say 90% of our people can give me 4 out of 5.
It's good.
About 10% can give me 5 out of 5. And the reality is, we established those core values within the first 6 months of coming to Oklahoma, and I didn't create the core values. I put our senior leadership team and our administrators in a room with a third party. I sat at the back of the room and I just let them describe who we are.
Yeah.
Like, you tell me who we are. I'm not going to chime in. Don't look at me, because they would throw out a word and go, and I was like straight faced, like I can't go or because there's times I was going, I love that one, but I'm not. I'm going to allow this to be them.
Yeah.
Let them lead it.
Very
this
smart.
is what they see it as, because they'll have buy-in, like we were talking about earlier. If they believe it's their core values,
Sure.
right? And so we establish those, and that's every major decision I have to make. I have to run through the core values.
What are
Every
your core
single one.
values?
So they're going to sound a little different, but that's okay. I'll kind of explain them to
Yeah,
you, because
I like
they're going to be like everybody. So our first one is going to be innovation, and the idea there is we want to be fast, we want to be quick, we want to be adapting, and we do that in a lot of different ways. From I think probably one of the latest innovative things that we did was we just did a AI referral system.
Yeah.
And we love it. And everyone thought we're crazy. It's going to break the system, and that's dumb. You're going to get bad referrals because that AI is not. Get out of here. You know what I mean? We are really early adopters, but we're also quick to ditch it if it's not working.
Sure.
So we'll take something on and go, this is a great thing, everyone do it. And then if it's like, man, this is a nightmare, toss it, move on.
Sure.
But we're going to be innovative. And so innovation, because to me, we're kind of in a pretty stagnant industry. There's not, we're not Apple, we're not Google, we're not creating on a daily basis. Our regs were written 50 years ago, you know what I mean? So we're going to innovate. So innovation is going to be a big one for us. Integrity is going to be, that's one of our core values. And basically what that says, we're going to do what's right over what's fun, fast, and easy.
Yeah.
And we're going to profess our core values than simply preaching them. Because so many times we're going to fall short.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall short. My team's going to fall short. We're all going to fall short in it. But integrity says, look, I was wrong, but I want to do better.
Yeah.
And so that's about professing rather than preaching. You can step on a podium and preach them all day long, and people just kind of tune you out on that deal. So that's integrity. Leadership, we believe that we have to hold one another accountable and conduct ourselves in a way that inspires others around us.
Yeah.
That's how we define leadership. You got to, if your behavior, whatever you're doing, whether if you're pushing the broom, or you're flipping the eggs, or you're, or you're administering meds, or you're the administrator, or you're the IT director, you've got to conduct yourself in a way that people around you get inspired by the work you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's leadership for us. Ministry, which throws people off because we're not a faith-based organization. Well, I always like to say we're an interfaith organization. You're welcome to bring any faith you have or none at all, and that's okay.
Let's go.
We look at ministry as a verb. We accept that our purpose is to heal and to help and to care for. And we're going to walk that out in a bunch of different ways through our community, through our residents, through our families, and through one another. And so ministry, that's one of our core values. And the very last one's family. And that one is a big one because we talk about it a lot. We have a lot of action around that word family, but we believe that family loves you the way you are, accepts you for who you are, doesn't try to change you for something that into you're not, and it's a safe place to be.
Yeah.
And so that's how we conduct ourselves with family. We always say a lot of times I'll say this a lot, we take care of our own here.
Yeah.
And we really do. And when you get a strong culture, and believe me, Voyage is not perfect. Yeah. I can sell the podcast and do all these great things, and I'll have employees going, that's not right, that kind of thing, right? We're trying better every day. But here was a prime example. I was sitting in my office a couple of months ago, and I had one of our front desk hosts come in, and she says, hey, Brad, there's a couple employees here, and they've got bags of groceries, and they want to know if they can put it in the corporate refrigerator freezer. And I said, why? Like, what, because we have these big refrigerators in there. And I go, why did they need to do that? And then she goes, I don't know. They just said they don't have anywhere to store it and they want to store it there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to come out and see what's going on. So I go out there and I've got 2 employees that are standing there and they have flyers made up and they have 3 bags of groceries of cold stuff. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, Mr. Brad, they said, we didn't want to bother you with all this, but we've created an employee food pantry. And I said, really? And they go, a lot of people are really, this was during the time of the SNAP benefits being shut down. And we have some people that really rely on some of those food benefits to feed their family. And they said, we've been collecting all day long at the homes, gathering up groceries. And now we've put the flyers out and they called it Los Amigos Food Pantry, which is like, the Friends food pantry, right? Yeah. And so I was overcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, wait, you didn't call corporate to ask if you could do this. You didn't try to get anyone's permission. You saw your fellow teammates hurting.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, we can figure out a way to do this. And I said, you know what? I love your initiative. You can use this refrigerator. We actually brought in a separate storage for all the dry stuff so that we could house more. Corporate came behind it. Corporate started to just participate. I started bringing stuff. I'm going through going, we don't need this. We don't need pulling things out. And the one thing that we saw were like diapers and formula. And I'm like, I hadn't bought formula in years.
Yeah.
And I'm on the grocery store just getting, just cans of formula, putting it in my grocery cart. And we fed 12 families for that 2 months during the shutdown. And it was just family taking care of family.
Yeah.
Just people taking care of people. They didn't meet it. They didn't. And really right then I looked at my COO and I said, you know what? We don't have to drive everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have the right culture in place, our people understand
They
that.
understood the core value and they lived it.
They got it. They're living this out. This isn't just words on a wall. You know what I mean? This is something they're living out every single day and they saw a need and they want to fix it. We said all the time, we take care of our own. And we mean that. So when someone's struggling, when someone's hurting, how can we step in and take care of you? How can we help?
That's amazing, dude. I want to know more about Voyage.
Okay.
There's some really, really cool stuff that you all do. Kind of separates you from the rest. What do you think some of the top 3 things are that you all do that you're most proud of?
Oh gosh, number 1 was last year we initiated something called VCamp. What we saw, we're very big on growing outside of the industry. So I see people all the time that a waiter. Someone that helps me out in Target, just goes over and beyond and goes, oh, I found this on the other shelf, that kind of thing. I have my cards with me and I go, why don't you come to work for me? And they go, what do you do? And I go, I don't know. We'll find something. We'll get you your CA license. We'll get you, dietary, whatever that looks like. But what we were finding is we'd had a partnership with a sober living house a couple of years ago. And it was a great partnership for us, a second chance kind of thing for a lot of ladies, but they weren't equipped for the workforce. And so they lacked skills. And so we would bring them in and then they would be hot on fire and in 3 weeks, 4 weeks burning out and we're losing them. And I'm going, what do we do different? And so what I did was kind of got with my CFO, which thinks I'm nuts most of the time. And I go, hey, listen, I want to create VCamp.
Yours does too, right?
Yeah, is that just a common thing? Or all CFOs, if you're listening, Brandon, I'm sorry, but someone's got to have the brain in the room besides me. Obviously, he's got his foot on the brakes. I said, listen, I want to create something called VCamp. I've been thinking about this. And he goes, what is VCamp? Because everything we do starts with a V, it's Voyage, because it's a weird letter anyway in the alphabet. So it's VCamp, Career Advancement Mentor Program. And so we went to 2 nonprofits. We went to a sober living house that we'd partnered with before, and we wanted to engage with them. And then we went to it's basically a homeless youth shelter. It's a community-based project, nonprofit, where you have individuals from 18 to 25 that are living in this shelter kind of setup because basically they're homeless due to their sexuality.
Yeah.
It's a great, I didn't even know that existed. I don't know why it should exist, but because of whatever's happened in their life circumstances, they find themselves homeless. And one of the guys that I kind of got to know and kind of meet through the process was he, when his parents discovered his sexuality, what they did was they went outside and they took his birth certificate, they took his driver's license and all of his belongings and put it in the front yard and lit it on fire.
Whoa.
Wow.
Videoed it and sent it to him. Jesus. And so he's living in the shelter with no job.
Wow.
No employment, no way to make anything. And so he applied. We had over 75 applications and we took 10.
Wow.
And so what we did is we took 4 months and we paired them up as a team and I gave them a coach, which Jessie is an amazing coach, and she worked with them 5 days a week. And they would go out and they would do activities all together. They would go do dietary all together. We would call it like a VCamp takeover. And so we call our and go, hey, who's got vacation planned? They go, well, my dietary, my CDM, they're going to be on vacation this next week. Great. We're doing a VCamp takeover in your kitchen.
Oh,
and we
so
just
you
let
went
them all
inside the
work.
to nursing homes?
All day long. Activities. They did therapy. The therapist would give them assignments to do, whether it just be walking residents or going out to the ranch and working with them out there, or in our pool and aquatic therapy, all that kind of stuff. So we just sent them out all over, but they always work together in a group. And we always set aside usually 2 afternoons a week to do nothing but leadership and just job skill training.
Yeah.
We helped them create resumes. We helped them do interview skills. We taught them practical life things, leadership traits, and that sort of thing.
That's sweet.
And so out of the 10 we took, we graduated 7. There were some unfortunate circumstances I could go into, but so proud of the 7. That 7 today, I think 3 of them are CNAs, just killing it. One's already got her CMA, which is amazing.
Yeah.
2 of them are in the dietary area, and one's right now studying to get her CDM. And we did a whole graduation ceremony for them out in front of the corporate. Had their hats, they did the walk and everything, and it was beautiful. But it was a way to give back to the community. Yeah. And so many things I've heard from these people are like, my life trajectory is changed forever.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. So that gets me.
Congrats.
You know what I mean? When you can do things like that and you can take someone that says, look, you're here. We're going to lift you up to here. And we don't expect you to get it all right the first day.
Yep.
And during that program, there are mouth offs and there are I'm never coming backs and all those things that happen because you're taking people that aren't quite up to the task yet, but you're getting them to that point where they're graduating. And I got to just put my arms around them and give them a big, graduation certificate and move their tassel on their hat for them. That, to me, made my year. And so we're starting another version of VCamp in June, and so they're going to take us all the way through again. So we're going to keep doing that. We've got 2 more other organizations. I got 2 coaches, so we're branching out. We got 2 coaches now, and I think we're going to try to take 10. Don't hate me for that. But my team's all going, oh my God, 10 of them. And so, but the V campers are great. I mean, there's days it's like, what are they doing today? They're doing medical record sorting because that whole room just needs to be cleared out. And you're like, oh yeah, it's junky. Everyone knows how junky nursing homes get. I mean, we hoard stuff. It's like, that wheelchair's been from 1985. Why are we holding on to it? Well, because no one had time to go clean it out. We're doing it today. We did planting. We did all kinds of stuff with
That's genius. That's genius.
Yeah. But it's just it's career advancement mentor program because they do need career advancement.
Sure.
But more than anything, they need the mentorship.
Mentorship, yeah.
They need people that say, look, you can yell at me, you can cuss at me, you can quit. I'm not giving up on you. Because these are some individuals in life where everyone, including their family, has given up on them.
Yeah.
But we're not going to.
Wow.
So love VCamp. That's a thing. That's a passion. That's a passion project for me. But it's a great business concept from the step. We have people that, I don't know, I'm sure they'll leave me one day. But, at the same time, they are on fire. They see the purpose. They live within our core values. It is real to those people. So that's a big one for me.
That's good. What's number 2? I know you got another one.
Yeah. VIP is going to be something we started. We're going to be doing our 6th VIP this year. And it's called, number 1, we do VIP of the month. And so that every home gets to pick a VIP of the month. They get a parking space. They get a special lanyard on there that says they're a VIP, kind of thing. They get a T-shirt. They get a little money. I think it's like $25. And then every idea doesn't have to be massively expensive, right? It's a $25 gift card kind of thing. And so that's our VIP program. And then at the end of the year, it's always on the 3rd Friday of every December, we do the VIP Awards. And the only way I can describe the VIP Awards is it's like the Academy Awards of long-term care. What we do is we have nominees, and those kind of come from the VIP of the month every single month. If you get one of those, then you're going to be a nominee at the end of the year. They never know when, but sometime in November, we kidnap them. We will send limousines to all the homes on some random Tuesday and go, you, come with us now. And they throw them in the car and we whisk them off to a destination. And when they show up, it's a party. We got the DJ going. We got food. All the corporate
It's
team.
not me. He has his own DJ.
It's not you. You're welcome to DJ for our party.
I'd love to.
But it's a big party. And so we do a victory line. And as our people come in, we are high-fiving them going, you've been nominated for a VIP award. And we're high-fiving them, and they're just like overwhelmed. You got tears, you got laughter, you got people just screaming and hollering. And so each of them, that's when they get their VIP certificate nomination. They know within 3 weeks is going to be the actual night of the event. Like I said, last year, I think we had around 900-ish people there.
Incredible.
It's open to everybody. Like we let other people from other industries come. We have elected officials there. We have.
Let us know. We'll join.
I would love for you to come.
That would be cool.
I would love for you to come.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and so we bring in outside speakers that present all the awards. And so the first part is just the award portion. And then we do the announcements, and everything is video driven. And so what we're doing all year long, when we know that person's got a VIP, our media team will see like that CNA just pushing the med cart down the hallway. We're filming that. And so when their name comes up on it, it'll say like, it's kind of funny. It'll say like Brad Underwood, the Integrity Award. And it'll show me just pushing, like a med cart down the hallway, And what's so great, what I love about VIP is we ask them, we basically tell them, bring your friends, bring your family, bring someone that's close to you. That could be your mother, that could be your spouse, that could be your child, whoever it is. We want them to see you being honored that night.
Why do you do that? Why is that an intentional effort to bring your friends, to bring your family to join the celebration?
Because I was in Scottsdale, Arizona about 6 years ago trying to take a little sabbatical, just like a few days off just to clear my head. And I was reading a book by Dan Cockerell, which is a former Disney, I think he was COO, and he wrote a book called What's the Culture in Your Kingdom? And what he said was, and he made a great point, he said, we have individuals we ask to work for us for 25 years. They give their heart, their soul. They come home every night. They complain about us sometimes. They compliment us sometimes. But at the end of the day, the spouse or the loved one or the family member never knows what you really do. And then the person goes to retire and they go, hey, we're going to give you a retirement party. And so they go, please bring your spouse with you to the retirement party. So then this shows up and all these people say all these nice things about you and they give you a plaque and they give you a gold watch maybe and they go, thank you for your years of service. And on the way home, the spouse goes, I never knew Bill that you worked with and talked about all these years. I never knew that guy that you told me about all those times. It's great to put a face with the name, but I really never knew how much that company appreciated you. Mm-hmm. And so I said, why do you have to wait until you retire or leave someone to find out what the company thinks about you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have had people, this is true story. I can tell you the person right now, she came to me and she said, I was going to quit last week. And I go, oh, what happened? Like, is there something going on? What can I do? And she said, I was so fed up and mad that I was going to quit. And I told my husband, that's it. I'm putting in my notice tomorrow. And he said, no, you're not. And he said, what? And he talked her out of quitting until her head cooled down. And the reason why is because I've shook that man's hand every year at VIP. I know him personally. I know what he does for a living. I know their kids' names. And he basically said, I know you're frustrated and I know you're mad, but I think you can work through this if you go talk to Brad. And we did. We worked it through. But the reality is I would have never known that. So many people come in, they put their notice in, they leave. You don't know why they leave, what's going on. But I got a relationship with their family now. I got a relationship with their spouse. I know one of my employees' moms by name. I saw her at Walmart. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I know who that is. You know what I mean? And I gave her a hug. She knew who I was. But it's all about saying you have a core value as family, but yet you don't allow them to attend any events with them. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. So we do it as a big celebration. We want you to bring your kids. We want you to bring whoever it is. It has to be of age because a little bit of alcohol that evening. But we have a good time after the award ceremony. But we give things away and we do all kinds of fun stuff. But
that's smart.
Yeah,
it's really smart.
I just want the buy-in from the family because if I can get that spouse to buy in that what they're doing is making a difference and seeing the heart of our organization that we screw up a lot, but it's not because we don't love their spouse, they'll keep coming back. Yeah. They'll keep coming back.
I'm excited. James is going to pick me up in a limo next week. You got my address,
with the victory line.
Yeah. No,
there's some good ideas to steal here. I will say that. You're giving us a lot of ammunition.
Well, there's nothing new under the sun. I didn't make up any of it myself. I stole it from everybody else, so it's not a big deal.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is creating little pieces here and little pieces there. And that's one thing I love about the podcast is we're able to sit around and hang out and flow with each other and be like, what good things are you doing? What innovative things are you doing? Who's doing what? And James is always he's always like, let's go deeper into that. Let's see what are you actually doing? Like what are some like intentional efforts that you are putting in place that make a big difference? Who's doing something really, really good? And so I think that's why it's so nice to have people like yourself on this podcast be like, just share just a wealth of knowledge. Like, this is what we're doing. This is how it's impacted us. This is how it's impacted the lives we served. And this is how it's positively impacted our residents, because we've done and we've invested in our people more than most people have.
Well, to me, okay, I'll just give you an example of another one. A lot of times the things that we come up with come out of sometimes tragedy, sometimes out of a hard lesson that we had to learn. And so 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago now, I got a phone call. It was early that morning, maybe 6 a.m. And I got the news that one of our long-term nurses that worked at a little 29-bed home, her name was Marissa Bird, she was 28 years old, was killed in an auto accident. And what happened was she was driving home with her 2 nieces because she was helping her sister raise, because her sister was dealing with some addiction issues. And she was driving home and got caught up in 2 guys speed racing down the highway. And it flipped her car, killed her. The 2 kids were okay. But the home was devastated. It's 29 bed. There's like 40 staff. And so they're very, they are the essence of family as far as our core values. And I didn't know what to do. I don't know how to help them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, how do we help this hurting population over there? The residents were crying. They were upset. They knew Marissa. She took great care of them. And I said, talking to my COO, and I said, what if we were to send a grief counselor? Would that help? And she goes, well, it's worth a try. At least it's someone to talk to him. So we sent a lady by the name of Shetra over to the home, and she stayed that week. And I talked to her at the end of the week, and I said, Shetra, how are things going? How's it going over there? And she said, it's good. Thank you for coming by. That was good for them to see you. And I said, okay. And she goes, but to be honest with you, Brad, I really need to be here again next week. And I said, okay, cool. Do it again next week. And so what that turned into, about 3 weeks later, I'm looking at this, I'm going, we can't afford this. We don't have a budget for this. But Shetra, how can I hire you full time? I said, I just want you to be available to our employees only. I want you to just, no family members, no residents, not even really our corporate staff. I want you to be in the homes, and I want you to be talking mental health. I want you to be hanging out with our people, getting to know them. I want them to have a safe place to turn to with a mental health professional that they can talk to them about when their kids are out on the rails and when their spouse is acting this way, or, and some of the things that she's been involved in blow my mind. She actually sat and held the hand of one of our employees in court as she testified against her husband for a domestic issue. Ooh. That she didn't think she was strong enough. He has been hitting on her for years. And Shetra got her through that. Wow. And so it's things like that we created Voyage Cares. We want our employees to know you're not going through this alone, and that we are here to help. I never know who she sees, how often she sees them. I'll just go, how are you, Shetra? I don't want to know any details. How are you? Yeah. And she's like, Brad, I've got like 29 on caseload right now. And I'll go, you can't maintain 29 on a caseload. She goes, I know, and I got a waiting list. And so the reality is probably this coming, like we start budgeting in June for next year, I'm going to have to add somebody else. Yeah. But you can't give something you don't have. Yeah. If I went, I know there's staff members that I could go to and go, hey, write me a check for $1 million. And they would do it today. But the problem is they don't have it. Yeah. And so we're asking our people to show up and show out every single day and give radically good care to these residents and love them like family and treat them like their own grandmother and grandfather. But if they don't have that within them, they can't give it. Yeah. And so what we see, it's, when someone is too serious or they need medication or they need referral out, we'll do all those things. We'll get them the resources they need if they need longer stays in mental health and that kind of thing. But most of it is, hey, I noticed something's off with you today. Are you okay? Yeah.
I guess the longer she's there, my assumption is she can pick up on, just like the nurses pick up on the patients.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they trust her because she's proven herself time and time again. I told her all about my marriage, and it didn't get all over the building. You know how that is at nursing homes, right? Sure. It didn't get all over the building, and they just saw me step out with her and take a smoke break. You know what I mean? For 15 minutes, and I felt so much better coming back in. I was able to finish my shift and do a great job. Or I'm dealing with my kid. He's a wayward kid. He's getting in trouble in school. And just some common tips.
Do you think because of the shifts, the length and the demand of the job, that it's more important that CEOs like yourself set that up, because they don't have that outlet. They don't have that social network outside of the job, because the job is life.
Well, there's that. And then the second part of it, think about just the stigma around mental health as it is. You know what I mean? Especially in long-term care. If we say, hey, we've got a resident coming in, or I have a whole building that's nothing but mental health, and people go, oh, I don't see how you work out in that one. And I want to go, listen, mental health, the brain is part of the body too. And it needs help too. And so one of the first things I had to do is go on camera in front of all 650 employees and get really real about my own mental health. And that I see a therapist. And there's been times in my life where the train has gone off the track for me too. And I needed someone to come alongside of me, encourage me, and someone to talk to. And that took a lot of vulnerability. And it took a lot of wow, I'm getting ready to show my underbelly to the world here. And just so that I can help them to go, hey, if he can do it, I can do it.
How much did it change after you had that vulnerability with your team?
Huge. For me, if that's what it takes in order to help someone else, I'm willing to lay on the altar for that. Yeah. That's okay, because I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed that I don't think I'm trying to think. I'm not currently in therapy, but I mean, at times I'm on and off my whole life. I've been, I have great therapists that when I'm kind of unsure about something, I reach out and go, hey, I need a couple sessions. And I have to tell people that too. This does not mean they're going to commit you to a mental health facility, right? Yeah. This just means I need someone to talk to for an hour, once a week for a few weeks, so I can kind of get this straight in my head. I've got something I'm not feeling good about this. Yeah. And so many of the things that she's able to go in and diffuse really quickly makes a tremendous difference because she's able to get it at the root instead of waiting till I got someone in the office blowing up, crying, cussing, going crazy. And we go, hey, what's really going on here? Yeah. Oh, your kid left 2 weeks ago and you don't know where they're at. Yeah. That's what's really the issue here. Let us help you with that. And Voyage Cares does so many other things just besides the mental health piece. We do a financial assistance piece. We do tuition reimbursement piece. We do a whole thing where it's an anonymous hotline they can call in. I have one person in the whole company that manages that. And they're basically, I've threatened them with their life. You never tell a single thing about any of this kind of thing, just because I want it to be a safe place for our employees. Sure. I mean, and they see that now, and it takes a little while to have the buy-in, are they going to use this against me? Am I going to miss a promotion because I'm seeing Shetra? Am I going to, no, nothing like that. In fact, it's just going to make you better. Just going to make you better. And so, yeah.
Why do you do all these things? I mean, these things we've talked for 45.
Good question. I don't know either.
I have no idea. It's absolutely amazing the things that Voyage does. I know that you want to set a great culture for all your folks, but why do you do it?
Here's the reality. Like I said, we don't pay the most, we don't pay the least, but at the same time, we pay fair because it gives me the margin in between there to do these things, because really what people need is a great place to work. Yeah. And what I have found in my purpose and my why is I am best when I'm looking and finding people that I can lift up, make it better. All people matter. Yeah. Even from our worst employees, which I wish we would promote outside at times, those people matter. Yeah. And every time, and I don't have to do that in my position very much anymore as far as terminate people, but I know there's our HR people do that a lot and that kind of stuff. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, it should bother you. Yeah. I hope you don't sleep at night. Yeah. That woman's been with us for 5 years. I hope you don't sleep well tonight. And I said, but we had to do what we had to do for the better of the business. But if it ever gets easy, you don't need to be in this organization anymore. Yeah. And so for me, all people matter. And I am my best self when I'm helping and assisting others to let them find their best life.
Dude, that's amazing.
And I would be that if it was in long-term care, or if it were being a street vendor or driving an Uber. I don't care whatever I'm doing. That's what I'm looking for. I'm happiest in life when I'm helping others. And there's something about going home, and my wife, bless her heart, I know she gets sick of hearing about them, but sitting out on the back deck together, and drinking a glass of wine, going, let me tell you about my day. It's ministry in action every day because it's a core value. Yep. We're going to be family. We're going to be ministry. We're going to show leadership. That's our core value. Integrity, that's who we are. And so it's just living out those core values every single day of my life that I didn't even create. Those are they were given to me. You know what I mean? And so, that's why I do what I do.
That's podcast over.
So good.
I thought we had 2 more hours. I have more things
that's right. And can you go in a little bit about the scale, just the company? I mean, we've talked a lot about obviously the culture of the company and how you got here, but where are you at now and where are you going?
Yeah, so we have 6 homes currently. We have about 425 residents, about 650 employees. There again, those numbers change every day kind of thing, right? We have our corporate office. Much past that, I'll always say I'm open. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
We pass on more deals than we take these days. I like it. It's just, it has to feel like us. The other day when we acquired one, I was talking to an out-of-state owner, and he said, well, just go tour the building, look at the building, and da-da-da, you know, that kind of said. And I said, I can't do that. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, listen, if I go tour your building and I don't want to do this deal, I'm going to destroy your building.
Yeah.
You think it's bad now? It'll be worse, because the reality is Voyage has a good name in the state of Oklahoma, but it can also have a bad name in the state of Oklahoma. And the reason why is because if you want to piddle around, not give great care, kind of act up and do some of the silly stuff we see all day long, this ain't going to be the place for you. And I'm about to come in and blow your world up, because those people rise to the surface very quickly in our organization. A lot of people see us come in and they just sigh and they go, oh, yes, thank God you're here. And there's other people in the back going, I better get on Indeed today, because they have fired me from 2 other buildings, and this ain't going to happen here, right? You know what I mean? They're not going to allow that. And so I just told him, I said, listen, I know the building. I know what it's like. I can't go in it. And we made the deal on the building. But at the same time, we pass on more than we take right now. I just want it to be right for our people. And I've got to make sure I've got the buy-in from my senior leadership to go, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is, you know, I have to be accountable to them just like they're accountable to me. And I go, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm, you know, considering, and that kind of stuff. And if they freak out and they go, oh, Brad, we can't, it's too hard. VIPs in 1 month, you can't take on a building, all the things, you know, or whatever it is. And I'll go, all right, cool. I understand. I get it. It's just not the right time. You know what I mean? But we lead everything in a team basis. I very, very, very seldom ever pull the card. I'm the CEO here and we're going to do this.
Yeah.
That's just not who I am. And most of the time I don't really even add a lot to those kinds of conversations. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What do y'all think?
Sure.
You know, give me some direction on this. And we have such an open feedback system where they're like, I think that's a terrible idea. I go, yeah, I understand that. I can see that. It probably is. And there's times like, well, I still think I'm going to do it. And they're like, okay, well, you know, but at least we've all talked about it first, right?
Right.
But as far as scaling up, maybe Oklahoma's a really, interesting, we'll call it very interesting state. It's a difficult state. I've only operated in 2, Texas and Oklahoma, but I would definitely say Oklahoma has a very large learning curve coming into Oklahoma for sure.
Are you, I kind of asked some owners, operators in the state of Texas this question. I'd ask you the same thing. Are you optimistic about where Oklahoma is going in long-term care? No.
If I'm just being honest, no. Not at all.
I never, it surprised me. Tell me.
No, not at all. And the reason why that I feel like we have to do so many other things, like Voyage Cares, like VCamp and that kind of stuff, because of the lack of support we get for long-term care in the state of Oklahoma. We submit our annual Medicaid cost reports, our Medicare cost reports, that sort of thing. Oklahoma long-term care is a fixed rate system. And this is not by owners, this is not by operators, this is by the Oklahoma Department of Health figuring this number. We're about a $39 to $42 a day loss on a long-term care resident.
Whoa.
And there's no increase in sight. Our legislators have no desire to do a rate increase.
Why?
It's not valuable. They don't value it. And so every day when I take a long-term care resident, I know I'm going to lose anywhere from $39 to $42 per day on that resident.
It's incredible.
It is. And yet, there again, we're supposed to deliver hospital quality care on dollar store prices. And we can't. It's impossible. Not to mention the regulatory environment in the state of Oklahoma is probably the worst I've ever seen.
So I've been in the surgery center world, the pharmacy world. We've been on the neurodiagnostics, obviously laboratory, MRI facilities. I've done it all. I've been in every aspect of medicine. There is a loss on 50% of services that are provided on all industries. There's medications that we would prescribe, and our cost was always significantly higher than our reimbursement. There's surgeries we do today. I mean, we can do a spinal cord stimulator implant, and you get paid less than the trial. How's that making it? I don't think the average person, even a lot of people within medicine who aren't in the back office, don't understand. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
There are so many things that don't make sense.
Yeah.
I will say I'm having active conversations and negotiations with state and federal legislatures today about reimbursement changes. And it's pretty cool to see there are people in office who care. There are people who are bureaucrats that have been there for a long time, whose eyes are now open and they care. Like, I'm actually encouraged about what's happening on the federal level and mostly Texas. I'm not in Oklahoma. But if you ever want help, I've got some tricks up my sleeve. We can go in together and try to have some conversations with people. I assume you're the kind of guy you've already had some conversations.
I think what I love about Texas, it was case mix. You're paid based on the acuity.
Yep.
And the reality is almost all that we take now is very high acuity.
Yeah.
We're mini hospitals.
It's hospitals.
You know what I mean?
agree.
And we're not reimbursed anywhere near. I don't know if I should say it on the podcast, but the average rate, reimbursement rate for a long-term care resident in the state of Oklahoma is like $225 a day to feed and to clothe and to there's no way. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And what it is, and I guess we're kind of in a bullish standoff between operators and legislators, but basically what the legislators have said, they want to go to some sort of performance-based, which I don't blame them. There's a lot of bad actors in the long-term world.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
I think people like you are going to shine when they go to performance-based.
I'm ready to go performance. I would love to go performance-based. I really would. But like our association talks about, whenever you do that, you're going to have winners and losers.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's just the reality. You're going to have winners and losers. And the state of Oklahoma is just provider-wise, they're just not ready to take that hit. And so we're going to keep going down that deeper dive because every year costs aren't going down, costs are going up.
Oh, yeah.
And next year, I'm sure we're going to be at a bigger deficit. But yeah, it's not because we're not all out going, rallying around, please try to help us, but we just don't. In fact, our budget in the state of Oklahoma just went to the Senate to be approved, and there's no funding for Medicaid in our budget. So they're still kind of going back and forth on that one as far as fighting about which is where we're going to fall into that world. So it's always a very contentious battle every year for our legislature. But we've not had a pay increase in 4 years now, I think.
Wow.
And that's been a really expansive. The inflation over the last 4 years was substantial.
Yes.
Substantial.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Absolutely. And so, I look at people and I go, listen, you're a CNA and you're killing it, and I would pay you $50,000 a year if I could. But the reality is, until we have a better margin and better rates to work with, I can't do anything for you. Yeah. And I'm right here with you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, it's that, and then it's the regulatory environment, which is just astronomically bad in Oklahoma, if I'm being honest.
IJs, everything.
So it's a lot of everything. But if you go and you look at 2024 into 2025, there was a 412% increase in immediate jeopardies in the state of Oklahoma. 412%. So at the long-term care advisory meeting, it was asked to the director of Department of Long-Term Care. So he said, okay, wait a minute. There's 400, and this was a guy by the name of Philip Miller. They said, Philip, 412% increase in immediate jeopardy deficiencies in 1 year? Does that mean the care is 412% worse? His response was, no. And they said, then why the increase in deficiencies? His response was, CMS told us we needed to write more. Oh. It's in the minutes. It's a public accessible meeting. And I'm just sitting there with my mouth dropping down.
Yeah. Brutal.
I'm going, wow. And that's what we're seeing. It's not let us help you, let's improve, because here's the reality. We're already running at a $39 to $42 deficit per day. You want to come in and IJ me and find me $50, $75, $100,000? Where do you think that's coming from? B, how is that ever going to improve the life and the care of those residents? How's it ever going to help my staff get a pay raise, put to their 401k, provide better health insurance, medical insurance, something? It's not.
It's rough.
It just continues to cut away. And at the end of the day, the residents are the ones that pay for it.
Yeah.
So they can think they're doing everything they can to help residents and protect residents, and they're harming them left and right. Mm-hmm. It's a really contentious.
How does
issue.
it change? Does it change? Or what steps are you taking to get back on the right track?
I think we have to have a real conversation about the regulatory environment of long-term care.
Yeah.
Period. And that's across the board. That starts at CMS. That starts at the state level. You know what I mean? It's gone so far away from what it ever should have been. It's a big gotcha game, fine game, punishment game, punitive. I'm very outspoken. We put out videos and podcasts. We will call them out. We'll say, this is exactly, I have nothing to hide. I'll say, look, this is what you did. We know what you did. And they don't like it. I'm probably have a poster up in the OSTH office. They draw on me, throw darts at me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm bold enough to go, look, enough is enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're over it. We're over your politics. We're over your political stance. We're over your personal vendettas, your personal. We're done with all that. You don't have to come in here and be rude to the staff. You don't have to come into our home and sexually harass one of our staff members. You don't have to come in the home to play gotcha games. We're not here for that.
Yeah.
But we could all work together to look at Mrs. Jones lying in a nursing home bed to go, how do we make her life better and improve her care? And if there's something really seriously going on, please tell me, because I want to keep her safe and as healthy as possible too.
Yeah.
But just because you saw a CNA step barely across the threshold with a glove on and you want to write me a $10,000 fine for that now, give me a break. She was taking it off in the threshold of the hallway. But, gloves in the hallway, $10,000 fine. That's exactly the kind of stuff we deal with in the state of Oklahoma.
That's
brutal.
crazy.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's the reason why I'll just be honest with you, as we're on this conversation, I didn't plan to talk about this, but we're seeing more and more local operators in the state of Oklahoma getting out of the business.
Yeah.
And you're seeing big conglomerates, big out-of-state companies come in, and they're going to cut the budgets, and it's not going to be Oklahomans caring for Oklahomans anymore.
Yep.
It's going to be foreign entities, publicly traded companies. And I'm not trying to bash them because, I mean, they all have places, right?
Yeah.
But as far as the whole idea of like, I know the owner, I'll just call him up because I want to see if my mom was a good fit there. And if there's an issue with her care, I can call someone I know because it's Oklahomans caring for Oklahomans.
Yep.
That's going to be done in 10 years. And the reason why is because all the local operators, we can't deal with the pettiness and the politics and who supported whose campaign and all that kind of stuff. We just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so that's the reality.
I think there's a big difference between a hospital. When somebody goes to the hospital, they feel like it's this acute stay, right? You go in, you get it. It's very transactional. And when you go into a skilled nursing facility, it's effectively, from a clinical perspective, it's like a hospital.
Yeah.
But you're in a home.
Yeah.
And there's this difference. And the minute that it becomes publicly traded companies, the minute it becomes, corporate entities, some have done this very well, but there's still Oklahomans taking care of Oklahomans.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing it more on a corporate stage where it's just about, like you said, slash, because they're not going to come in and they're not going to run at a deficit on anybody.
No.
They're going to figure out,
No.
and that's going to come out of other people. So, I feel the concern there, and we hear you, and I hope you can do something about it. But I think it is going to take someone like you. It might be you.
We're in the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're in the mix. We're in the fight legally. We're in the fight. Legislatively, we're talking. We're in the fight. We're voicing our concerns at association meetings.
Yep.
I think most people, if I'm being honest, when I sit down with other owners and there's no cameras around and there's nobody around and we have honest conversations, they agree. But they look at me and they go, yeah, but I can't have them turn the gun on me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to sit down and shut up.
Yeah. Well, that's a big problem just across the board.
Yeah.
We've seen that. I think things in just the federal government got crazy in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And on really on both sides of the aisle. And a lot of it is just people being scared to speak up.
That's exactly what it is. And and what I say to them all, and I say this to our legal team and that kind of stuff, I said, listen, if you let that bully take your lunch money every day, they will.
Yeah.
And the minute you say, enough. And I think if anything, the message that we continue to say from Voyage is it's enough. You're not doing it. And the reality is I don't even know if it's as much the surveyors. I don't think they want to do half the things they have to do.
They're just doing their job.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're probably just doing their job.
They're being instructed by someone much higher up from them. And so, it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you're right. It's going to be about shareholder value. It's going to be about stock price. And at the end, Oklahoma will get what it's deserved.
We have some large corporate groups and we have some publicly traded groups in Texas that do really good work.
Yeah.
I will say they do really good work, but they have done a good job of running it almost like a local, maybe you could describe it better, but they run it like a local group. They don't run it, but we have also seen the opposite of that. So you don't know what you're going to get. And I think what you're doing is you're introducing risk into Oklahoma when you do that.
And we have a CON process too. That's supposed to help kind of protect against that, because the whole idea of the certificate of need process was that we want Oklahomans to receive care from other Oklahomans. We want neighbors taking care of neighbors. We want someone when they need a long-term care facility. I love it when you go to some of the rural areas, which the majority of Oklahoma is rural. Yeah. You have Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and that's it. You know what I mean? Outside of that, when a family member is needing rehabilitation or sick or whatever, they go to the home. Yep. They don't even call it the name. It's going to be probably something Heritage, Park, Manor, Winds of something, I mean, they all have the same names, right? But they'll go the home. And what that tells me is that particular nursing home's respected in the community.
Yep.
You know, they know who the owner is because he lives 2 streets over and he can drop by and check on grandma anytime. And I would put my mother in this nursing home just alongside your mother, and that's Oklahoman and it's families taking care of families and yeah, that's what we want. But unfortunately, it's taken a wrong trajectory the last 5 years. We've had a lot of turnover at OSDH. The recent director just basically left on a whim. Nobody knows really why. They just left. There's been investigations from DOJ there. There was back in the early 2000s, there was a whole corruption thing where several of the officials there went to jail, for corruption and fraud and bribery and embezzlement. And so there's just a lot of that whole department comes with a lot of baggage and history. Sure. And so it's very difficult as an operator not to go, is that still going on? When you see certain particular groups being targeted over and over and over and over, you know what's going on there.
Is this the part where you announce that you're going to go run the department for the state?
I'm hereby running for governor. Not really. Boy, that would flip some heads, right? If anyone wants to support me, I'll run for governor. We're going to have a great governor's race this year. We're going to have a great governor's race this year, so it's going to be good. But one of the people that is actually running for governor is a gentleman by the name, and I'm not endorsing any candidate whatsoever, but the only thing about Charles McCaw is he's actually a nursing home owner.
Oh, really?
Is it really?
So I think
I've
never heard of that, right? I've never heard of a
Yeah.
nursing home owner being in a governor. So, like I said, I'm not endorsing any one particular candidate. We're still in the primary season, which in Oklahoma means that's the real election.
Yeah.
Because they're basically a one-party state there. Anyway, but he is a nursing home owner, and so he understands the things we're going through, and he understands.
Well, that could be positive.
That could be
huge.
Maybe that's what I'm optimistic
there you go.
about.
It took a while.
About
It took a while. We
elected
got here.
official being a nursing home.
We
owner.
got it.
I am.
Yeah.
I really am. And so, but there's got to be a change.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that there is such a train headed for our industry in our state that by the time everyone looks up and sees that it's there, it's going to already have run over most people.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
We've had, I think, last year in the state of Oklahoma, I think we had 6 closures.
Bummer.
And it's a small state.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at the total number, that's more than 10%. And so you've got to really, and they're on the path trying to close more. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. You see it all the time.
Well, we always talk about your purpose and living out your purpose. What a strong purpose that you have.
Yeah.
What a strong responsibility that you have for the state of Oklahoma, the company of Voyage, to continue fighting the fight, continue doing exactly what you're doing. So from us at Our Purpose Podcast, we say thank you for sitting down with us and sharing your light and sharing your purpose. Close us out. What is Brad Underwood's purpose in life, and what makes him get up every single day and continue to fight?
You know, the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning is my family. Obviously, I mean, they're there, right? But right after that, I start thinking about my people.
Yeah.
And the last thing that's typically on my mind before I go to bed, and I'm just zonked out at the end of the night, is I'm thinking about my people. They really do mean the world to me. They really do. And I look at my life, and I don't know how long I'll work. You know what I mean? I'm getting old, Kip. I'm getting up there in age, man. So for me, if I leave this world and someone's life was a little bit better because of the influence, because of the assistance, because of the encouragement that I gave them, I'll know I did a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. It's good stuff. Thanks for
Simple.
What's up?
Close this out, Kip.
Dude, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sitting down. That was really, really inspiring.
Well, I appreciate you having me. We're pretty simple people. I'm a pretty simple person, and we're just trying to do good in the world. And anytime I get an opportunity to use a platform as huge as this and to talk to 2 individuals that are in the business and understand the fight, and man, I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful to you and the audience listening, and you don't know how much it means to me to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shout out Voyage LTC. Mr. Brad Underwood, CEO there. Thank you for listening to Our Purpose Podcast. Be sure to stream it on all major platforms. Will be released on Wednesday. Make sure you listen to Brad Underwood on Our Purpose Podcast. Until next time, peace.